to take the point further, we are now in the middle of the story, and we are actually a part of the scene that is being presented by the author, and we have, for instance, seen that there is a kind of alliance between the author narrator and the worker. The author narrator is telling, he is a medium, and he is telling us, the readers, about what he sees. And so far as the author is, the worker is concerned, the author finds the worker disturbed. And why should the worker be disturbed? First, he's an individual, and he's working at a place where there's nobody to help him. And he comes for duty, whatever hours are decided for him, maybe 8 hours, maybe 10 hours, maybe 12 hours. For those 12 hours, and if the duty is at night, then he's all alone. Even during the day, he's all alone. He's away from the city, from the village, from the town, and he's somewhere near a hill, and there's a tunnel, and the train is passing through the tunnel and coming out of it, and there is the tunnel is dark. At the mouth of the tunnel, you have a red, source of light, and he looks at the red thing, and his job is to, read it properly, the red color, because the train is coming, and when it comes, then it has to be working, moving around, moving, in the direction with a sense of protection and safety. So the worker appears having fixed eyes. That is his training now. He has to fix his eyes on the movements around him. So fixed eyes, this is a phrase that the writer is using. And if the eyes are fixed, if they are not moving, then it shows that the person is thinking only about one thing. And imagine, it's a lonely place, it's somewhere near a forest, it's a hilly region, and there is a tunnel, and from the tunnel the train will come out, and it will just pass by, and the person has to fix his eyes on the moving train in front of him. So actually his eyes have become fixed, and when the eyes are fixed and the person is alone, and when it's a night duty, then you can imagine how the man will look. The man would look a ghost, and a saturnine face. He is very worried. He's a very sad face. He doesn't seem to smile. Maybe he's forgotten to smile. He has forgotten to become, alert in his mind, because his face all the time shows a kind of worry. So that's the kind of face that he has, as if, says the author, and Dickens is a master of similes, this was a spirit. Spirit is a ghost, not a man. So the moment the writer says that it's a lonely place, the time is night, and there is a man all by himself, all alone, sitting there with with fixed eyes and a saturnine face, then you can think that actually it's not a normal human being, but a spirit, and he is not a man. When questioned out of curiosity by the narrator, the signalman responds with, "I was doubtful whether I had seen you before," and he points to the red light he had looked at. Now imagine, this is the time of night, and the narrator asks him, uh, uh, he asks him, "I was doubtful I had seen you before," and he points to the red light he had looked at. So the question is, who are you? Do you doubt me? Do you take me as my friend? And he says, no, I was doubtful whether I had seen you before. Why does the signalman ask this question, I had seen you before? Maybe he's seeing sights. Maybe he is afraid. Maybe he's some force away from this world. Maybe it's a ghost who is haunting him, who is just measuring his strength and is going to destroy him. Who knows? It is a time of night, and therefore he looks at the red light and he is pointing towards it. There is one thing that you will notice from these particular responses, and that is that the signalman is worried because of the red light and because of the darkness at night, at the time of duty, and is all alone. What about such people? Why should Dickens be interested in presenting such people for us in the 19th century? The railway lines, are there now in England, and which means that it's the middle of the century. Dickens himself is a mature man, and he has picked up this character from the new machinery that is now moving on the surface of the earth, and there he has seen that there is a person who might have lived a different kind of a life away from this place, and he would have been quite normal, but no, his duty is to be here in the hilly region all by himself, and therefore he has fixed eyes, and he just looks at the red light and he starts thinking. Now, at this point, we have very interesting instances of the author narrator talking to him. Where did he come from? Said the signalman. What education he did? Did he do his matriculation, or was he just in 7th or 8th standard? Did he Did he look for certain jobs elsewhere? And all these answers are precisely given by the signalman, and he says that he was not getting other jobs, and therefore he found this job, and he's worried that maybe if he doesn't do his duty properly, then he will lose this job, and where will he go? So all these things are at the back of Dickens's mind as a narrator, and they are also at the back of mind of the character who is being presented by him. So one can say that Dickens has picked up a character who is all by himself, who needs help, who needs company, who needs a family, who needs a neighborhood, and he's not getting anything. He's just he must be in a nearby village from this place which is of work. So if the duty is at night, then he comes in the evening, and he goes back in the morning, and all through the time of duty, he is just by himself, just alone. So that thing has actually given him a state of mind, and the state of mind is important both for Dickens to show the person's genuineness and hard work, as well as to show that this kind of a state of mind can actually give him wrong ideas, bad ideas, uncertainty. It can destabilize his mind. People may say that the person has gone mad, and all these things will disqualify him for the job that he is doing. So on the one side is the stress of the job, on the other side is hardship in terms of starvation. So Dickens's sympathy definitely would be with such a person, and he has given this kind of a sympathetic description to this individual with whom he wants to, as an author narrator, wants to be friends with, and therefore he is asking friendly questions from him, and the other person realizes that the man is good, but he also thinks, because the two meet at night, that this might himself be a ghost. And he asked this question in the beginning itself, but later on they befriend each other, and when the author narrator says, "Tell me more about him," he'll say, "Not today, maybe I'll do it tomorrow." Therefore they might meet the next day. Dickens has deftly combined here the spirit with the red light. So you think of the ghost and you think of the red light to create an atmosphere of horror. Dickens was a master of depicting horror. He could tell tales where you'll be totally glued to the page, because you want to know as to what happened to the person whom you would have liked. That takes the story onto a different plane of observation. There are two planes, the real plane and the imaginary plane. In the real plane, it's a poor man who is working hard all alone in a secluded area of the country, and the other plane is that this person actually would be a normal human being in different circumstances, and that he is leaving that and becoming a ghost. So one, that he is a normal person, the other is that he is a ghost himself, or he believes in ghosts, and he is being haunted by them. So these are the two planes. Are these planes separate from each other? Asked Dickens, the writer. And very soon the answer will come that most of the poor people actually live, in misery. And when you are miserable, then you can see ghosts. So ghosts may be unreal, but if you see them, then it only shows your state of mind, the state of mind of the person who is troubled. So that actually makes Dickens, the writer of the short stories, a kind of a great humanist. He sympathizes with these people. He has praise for them. He supports them. He is one with them. And if they are angry, then he is angry. If they are happy, then only he'll be happy. And since these people cannot be happy, therefore the writer himself also can never be happy. So it's an unhappy writer having a great sense of appreciation for these hard-working men, and therefore he is a great humanist. It makes the worker struck by dread. If you are alone at night and you are just doing your duty and you are sending signals in the box, and that box actually is protecting you from the cold outside and from the wetness outside. Therefore, box actually is doing two things. It is confining you to a small place, and at the same time it is protecting you from the cold and the damp outside. As if he had seen in the narrator a ghost looking at him from the high spot of the tunnel. When the two meet for the first time and they meet even the second time, this idea does never leave. It never leaves the person, that he's a ghost. So maybe he's talking a ghost, but the ghost, if the author narrator is a ghost to the signal man, then you can see that there is very little scope of talking, sincerely to one another. But then the situation is such, and the writer is presenting them, with that sense of horror, with that sense of uncertainty, that you have to read the short story, you have to be a part of it. At the same time, you know that there is something that might happen to you as a writer, as a reader. Connected with it are the two incidents of a railway accident and the death of the signal man. In fact, there are three, because the third also happened between. So let me tell you that there are three things that happen in the story. First, that there is a railway accident, and that happened just when a hand from somewhere, from the tunnel, showed itself to the man, the signal man, and the signal man could not see it clearly. Therefore, after some time, it so happened that the railway accident happened in front of his eyes, and was the hand of the ghost, and it came from the tunnel, and it could be seen only incompletely. So that's the first time when the hand warns the signal man that there's something wrong, and he thinks that it's a ghost hand, and then the accident happens. The second time, once again, the same kind of a hand is seen by him. It's not a man. It's somebody's face, hidden partly with the hand, and very sharply, very with great focus. The signal man is looking at it and is thinking of something wrong that might happen. And the second time, the accident is that there is a beautiful woman who is sitting in the compartment, dies, and the train stops, and the body is carried from the railway compartment to the box itself next to the signal man. So he sees a dead body in front of him at night, and that happened immediately after, or after a few hours of the seeing of the hand. So was the signal man seeing ghosts, apparitions, or was he seeing actual signals coming from somewhere? Nobody knows. Dickens would not tell. But then he saw, and if he saw, then there must be some phenomena somewhere. Was this phenomena real? Was this phenomena unreal? Dickens is wondering as much as we wonder. But being Dickens, he would always say that it is possible that all these are makings of the imagination of the character who is the signalman. But then, maybe is the question. Maybe that is not true. So you see that the second accident happens, and then there is a further chance that a third may happen. Now here there is a very interesting apprehension and anger. In fact, it's a kind of anguish that the signal man is facing. He says, why is it that the hand is there only before the only after the you can understand the working of the hand only after the accident has happened? Why did the warning not come before? If it had come before, then we would have taken some action. And there's no answer to this. In life, if you don't have knowledge, if you don't have any kind of indication that this is going to happen and take care, then it will be a blind kind of life. Things happen, you don't do anything because no forewarning is given. Only the actual thing happens, and then you know that it has happened. So there is a kind of fatefulness in life. Why should the life be subjected to fatefulness? Why should there not be a warning so that you can take measures to avoid the danger? This is the question, and it's a half a page long, elaboration of the question that takes our attention in the story. And maybe he's unhappy because of this reason, and this particular idea about not getting a warning so that you can take precautionary measures. This is what human life is, that you are always face to face with calamity, and then the calamity takes its toll, and that will be followed by another calamity. Why can't warnings can come before? It's a poor man, it's a half-educated man who is asking this question, but actually this is a profound question, and Dickens is telling us, imparting a sense of dignity to the character, that humanity would be better off if the signals of a disaster come before as warnings, and when people can take precautions so that the warning actually is fruitful, and disasters can be stopped, or something can happen, some steps can be taken to avoid the disaster. So you have two accidents before the third accident happens. The third accident is when the hand is shown again, the same face is shown again, and there is a meeting that is going to happen in the story, the meeting between the author narrator and the signalman, and the author narrator is coming down to meet him, to be with him for the night, and to see as to how he lives and how he faces the questions. And when he is on the way, then he is informed by somebody near the tunnel that the signalman is dead, and that he died because he was looking up and he forgot to stand away from the rails, and the railway engine cut him into two parts. So that's how the story ends. And when you see this, what does the author narrator interpret out of this? He is coming down to meet him, and he very soon, in a manner of 2 or 3 hours, because he's coming down, he'll be meeting him, he'll be talking to him. But then on the way, somebody is he can see a hand moving. He can see its movement, and for the first time, the author narrator says, yes, the man was right, that there is a hand, there is a face that shows, and immediately after that, he is told by a group of people who are there near the tunnel. They say that the signalman actually died. So what does it convey to us? It only conveys to us that there was an actual person who was giving signals to the person. It was the driver of the train who was not seen very clearly by the signalman, and therefore he would interpret it in his own way. So there was, which means that there is nothing like ghosts in reality. Ghosts actually appear to human beings because they are disturbed. So this is the kind of story that we have: a brave person, a concerned person, a person with empathy, with sympathy, a person who is genuine. That person is all the time shown as uncertain, tragic, annoyed, worried, and that who knows, symbolically speaking, Dickens is not talking about just this signalman. He is talking about all the poor people in England who face this kind of situation, and they can be symbolized by, in essence, they can be symbolized as helpless, like this person is. Then in fact, the two imagined episodes are interdependent. Let's now look at the story from the angle of interpretation. That a small error of judgment can cause a big accident. So error of judgment and big accident, are they together, or do they happen together? Error of judgment happens and accidents happen at the same time, or conversely, that the death of the signalman talks about the error. So error comes first, or the death of signalman comes first? This is a question that the author is posing. It's a serious, social question. How to, attain knowledge of the phenomena so that accidents don't happen. That answer has not been given by the society which has started using the train as a mode of transport. So the writer then takes us away in imagination from the actual incident and the thing that would come out and apply to the situation in the country at that point of time. The story is an imaginative construction, I say. This thing may not have happened. Maybe there was no such person. But then imagine, from the act of imagination, the writer uses certain techniques in order to draw our attention to the problems in the society of the time. So one should look at the story as a kind of means of giving a message, and that the story is written with a purpose. I think we started our discussion by saying that Dickens is a social realist, that is a realist of society, he is a critic of society, and that he has used his imagination in order to present a particular sequence of events in the story, and this imaginative construction is very useful. Imaginative doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It only means it might happen. If you use your imagination, if you can put 2 and 2 together, then you can reach the result that it's going to be 4, or if not exactly 4, then maybe 5 or 3. And imagination that way is central to the writing of literature, particularly the short story and the novel. The conundrum is the problem, the confusion. Plays its role of increased curiosity in the short story. Why do we read this story? Why does it haunt us? You read the story, you would like to read it again to find out as to who was right, whether there was a hand, whether there was a face, whether somebody was signaling. Who was this person who was signaling? Finally, the writer says that it might have been the driver's face, who cannot straight away be seen as full man, but he can be seen as a face hidden behind his own hand. So the conundrum is there. The answer is partly given. It was the driver, who was sending through his action certain pictures to the signal man, and that the signal man could not decipher the pictures clearly. He thought it was a ghost, but actually it was the driver who was always looking at somebody standing in front, and he would just warn him. And when he warned him, maybe some wrong signal was given by this person because his mind was affected, and that's why the accident happened. So there are 3 accidents. The first, the railway accident proper. The second time, somebody died in the compartment. The train stopped, and then the body was kept next to the signal man. And third time, that this hand hiding the face was seen by the signal man, and he could not see it properly, and he thought that perhaps this was the ghost, and therefore he could not keep himself clear from the railway track, and he was cut into 2 pieces. And which means that the story is ending tragically for us, and that we have to draw the right kind of lesson from it. It's a story. It's a 15-16 page long story, but it's a story that tells about the picture of the whole country at that time. 90% of the people in England at that time would be facing directly the situation that a signalman is facing. It's a situation of fighting for bread, struggling for living, survival, and not succeeding properly, because struggling to survival only confines to the suffering of the man. How does a person get fulfillment? How does a person get pleasure? How does a person become convenient in one's life, and meets other people and enjoys their company? That's not happening in England also, apart from the upper 10%. And Dickens is a writer of the people down below. So you can see that there is a tunnel at the top, and there is a signal man at the bottom, and that the gap actually is between the people who are traveling by the train and by the person who is looking after the safety concerns of the train down below. So you can see that that's how the story began. Hey, you down there! And when this thing is repeated a little later, then signalman says, who is this person there above, who is asking me the questions, and who is showing me the hidden face, and who is showing me the hand? And he doesn't answer it. He cannot answer it. So in that lies the kind of mystery that the story gives us. The resolution of the mystery. Is the mystery resolved? I say yes and no. This was the driver who was from the top looking at the man, and the man was trying to decipher the message. And the message was that some ghost was looking at him. It was not a ghost, it was the driver's hand and driver's face. So mystery is resolved. But then Dickens doesn't say so clearly, because the person has died and the information has come from these people who come there at night, and they are trying to the train stopped again, and this time these people informed the author narrator that the signalman had been killed. So the resolution is of the mystery. Is it clear to us? I say, as I earlier said, I repeat, yes and no. Mystery will definitely remain in the mind of the reader and the mind of the signalman. For him, it's mysterious, because he's working in darkness and he cannot read clearly whatever is in front of his eyes. So Dickens that way uses a masterly act of art, and that's leaves us in a state of wonder. The ending that is presented with pauses and suggestions by the author narrator. So you can see that we are on the edge of our seat. We can't sit comfortably there, because what is happening in front of us is beyond our reach in terms of understanding. Thanks.